As a reviewer, it's my job to take a look at games and assess their value, and most often this leads to laser focusing on the latest releases, which is cool. New games are cool. But eventually, at one point or another, us long-toothed gamers tend to look back at our collections with rose-tinted glasses, grumbling bitter utterances of the cult of the new and hotness. Part of this comes from the emotional attachment to the time in which we discovered and immersed ourselves in the hobby. Some of it has to do with the fatigue of keeping up and the acknowledgement that a collection can only grow so large. But there's also the genuine sadness from feeling like some of the greatest games of all time, games that remain unparalleled in their field, might be buried in the discourse surrounding their younger brethren. And nowhere can this be better seen than Uwe Rosenberg's iconic Agricola. While never the mainstream breakout hit like Catan, Pandemic, or Ticket to Ride, Agricola loomed heavy over the hobby gaming community for years. Released in 2007, it was the title that finally toppled Puerto Rico's 5-year run as BGG's #1 bay. Inspired by PC farming games, Agricola was one of the earliest entries in the worker placement genre, along with contemporaries like Caelus and Stone Age. What made it stand apart though, and what makes it still stand apart today, is that for all the bright colors and friendly Clemens-Franz duders, this game is just as demanding as it is rewarding. Sure, build the ultimate farming engine of your dreams, but if you ignore feeding your villagers, the point penalties will make your free market agricultural utopia crumble. Efficiency in Agricola is as much tending to your engine as it is constructing it, and it feels really, really good when done right. The game structure feels familiar, if a little stiff compared to its successors. Each round, players take turns deploying workers to unclaimed locations, reaping their rewards until no one has workers left, at which time all workers are recalled. New locations are revealed each round in a semi-randomized order, and some spaces accumulate more and more resources the longer they are unclaimed. Like many games, this presents pathing options for you to lean into strategies, get the wood to build the fences to house the sheep to make the wool, grab the reeds and clay to upgrade your house and build new rooms to make room for new workers. And that may sound pretty routine, but it's the context provided by two of the main features of the game that make it so special. First off, harvest, the periodic end of round phase where you reap crops from your field, feed your family, and welcome little baby animals into your life, and your hand of minor upgrades and occupations from the start of the game that can be played at certain locations. These upgrades each synergize with one or more different strategies, often with their own cost and requirements to deploy. And just like the worker placement locations, there's no way you're going to be able to do it all. So using that starting hand, you can sculpt what powers you want to lean into during the game, which are going to make you more efficient in order to be able to prepare for each upcoming harvest at the end of each section of cards that were set in the semi-randomized order. And thus you begin doing the dance. The dance of balancing your needs, the bottom line cost of feeding your expanding family with your wants, the smooth engine that will hopefully automate so much that you can freely pursue points of all different sorts. And what's really nice about the game is that none of it feels opaque. It's easy to understand what it's encouraging you to do while giving you the freedom of pursuing so many different ways of doing it. But we can't look back at this game without thinking of the criticisms either. And one of the heaviest criticisms laid on the game, and one completely subverted by its sequel Caverna, is that the early game is brutally restrictive to the point of feeling punishing. The point penalties and failure to feed your fam are severe, and the first few rounds feel like a desperate struggle to barely stay afloat. Failure to move towards some sort of automation through baking bread or animals will have you trying to ice skate uphill the duration of the game, and if you lean too heavy into one thing without diversifying, you'll miss out on loads of points where you cap out on just how many points you can get from grain or cow or fences or anything else. So yeah, consequences are clear, and you do have a lot of freedom to lean into different strategies, but if you buck against what the system wants you to do, it will not coddle you. And speaking of the dwarf-sized elephant in the room, there was a time in which I would have said that I hands down prefer Caverna. Like a bizarro world version of Agricola, Rosenberg took the same system and principles, but said, what if the upgrades and occupations were all purchasable tiles available to everyone? And instead of capping points encouraging diversity, we let you lean in hard on one single strategy, which is great. It's a blank canvas that allows you to coal mine donkey combo or warrior it up to your heart's content. But over the years, having played so much in the sandbox, I've realized that limitations breed another type of creativity, and at this point, I value the older game's tension over the younger's flexibility. Over the years, Agricola has developed a sort of old game hard reputation that somehow it's not of the modern approachability era, another dated classic eclipsed by innovation, but it's the stakes that make the game so rewarding, and thanks to some really forward-thinking mechanics and production updates and newer additions, it feels really modern in a way that its contemporaries don't. It's a game that's rich in complexity without feeling complicated, restrictive but not rigid, a game that expects players to be deliberate, to think creatively, and work hard to prosper. Sure, the stakes are high, but above all the game is fair, and Agricola remains unparalleled as a worker placement that understands that the challenge itself can be rewarding. If you enjoyed this video, we have all kinds of other reviews, interviews, and recommendations via writing, podcasts, and video here on our channel and website cardboardherald.com. Our content is audience supported, so if you want to show your support, please visit our Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Cardboard Herald.